This is the Sleep Historian. Each night we explore the echoes of the past, stories told slowly to calm the mind and ease you towards sleep. If you enjoy these quiet journeys through time, please like and subscribe, and let the next story begin. Long before steel wings traced lines across the sky, flight lived only in imagination, a quiet longing carried through centuries. You stand on a wide stretch of empty sand, the dunes of coastal North Carolina stretching under a pale winter sun. Wind sweeps across the ground in steady ribbons, reshaping ripples of sand. The air tastes of salt and cold. In the distance sits a small wooden shed, its roof pitched against the weather. Outside it rests a strange machine of canvas and wood. It looks fragile, uncertain, but it is the most hopeful shape the world has ever placed on sand. Time drifts backward. You follow two brothers working in a small Ohio workshop, filled with shavings of pine, bicycle chains, metal spokes, and handwritten notes pinned to the walls. The light through the windows is soft, catching motes of dust suspended in the air. Their tools are simple: planes, saws, wrenches. Yet their questions are vast. What shape should a wing be? How do you balance lift and control? Wilbur adjusts a curve of wood while Orville sketches quietly beside him. They do not imagine fame, only possibility. The dream of rising from Earth begins in spaces like this, modest, focused, and patient. Step into the late 19th century, a world fascinated by motion and invention. Railways crisscross landscapes. Electricity hums faintly through new wires. Factories glow late into the evening. But one frontier remains untouched: the sky. People watch birds with a mixture of wonder and envy. Scientific journals debate flight with cautious optimism. Hot air balloons drift gently, offering glimpses from above but little control. Gliders show promise, yet stability is elusive. You walk through a library where shelves hold volumes filled with sketches of wings, propellers, and impossible machines. Every page reveals the same quiet desire: to soar. Now drift to a windswept hill in Germany. Otto Lilienthal stands poised on a slope, glider wings stretching from his arms, fabric shimmering in the afternoon light. He steps forward, running until the wind catches him. For a moment he floats, suspended between sky and earth. Observers watch in awe as he moves with surprising grace. Though his flights are brief, they prove something important. Controlled lift is possible. His calculations, diagrams, and careful experiments will one day guide inventors across the world. When he crashes fatally in 1896, his final words echo through history: "Sacrifices must be made." Across the ocean in Dayton, Ohio, news of Lilienthal's legacy reaches two brothers running a bicycle shop. The Wrights spend evenings studying his work, tracing wing shapes with their fingertips, making notes in pencil. Their shop smells of oil, rubber, and polished metal. Wheels hang from rafters, slowly turning when someone passes by. A small stove clicks quietly in the corner. One evening, Orville adjusts a chain on a customer's bicycle, while Wilbur reads lines from Lilienthal's research aloud. They exchange a look, not dramatic, just determined. They decide to continue where others left off. Research becomes their evening companion. In the small workshop, Wilbur experiments with wing geometry using folded scraps of paper. Orville sketches control mechanisms with a stub of graphite, smudging the margins as he redraws angles. A breeze enters through a cracked window, fluttering their notes. They study how birds tilt their wings to turn, banking gently toward desired paths. This natural movement sparks an idea: wing warping. Instead of fixed wings, what if a pilot could twist them to steer? The thought feels both simple and profound, a quiet insight gained by watching the effortless grace of flight in nature. They test their theories with kites first. In a meadow outside Dayton, the brothers hold lines connected to a small wooden frame covered in white fabric. The wind tugs lightly at their hands. When Wilbur shifts the lines, the wing tilts, turning the kite as if responding to thought alone. Children from nearby houses gather to watch, pointing at the unusual design. The Wrights exchange a rare moment of excitement. Controlled flight, even in miniature, is real. The meadow falls quiet, except for the swish of the kite cutting arcs through the air. A new chapter begins. To build larger machines, they need steady, reliable wind, and find it in a small coastal settlement called Kitty Hawk. The journey is long. Trains, boats, then walking across sand under a sky full of migrating birds. You follow them along the dunes, the wind brushing your clothes and carrying the scent of salt. The town is sparse, with only a few scattered houses. Residents greet the brothers with curiosity. The dunes rise like gentle, shifting hills. Here, the wind is patient and consistent, shaping a natural laboratory. The Wrights unpack crates containing wood, canvas, and careful hopes. Their first glider, built in 1900, is assembled beside a modest wooden shed standing alone in the dunes. The structure creaks softly under the wind's steady pressure. When the glider is ready, the brothers carry it uphill, sand shifting under their feet. Wilbur climbs beneath the wing, lying in the prone position they devised. A shout carried by the breeze signals the attempt. The glider lifts briefly, skimming a few feet above the ground before settling back to sand. Imperfect, but promising. Notes follow each flight: angles, wind speed, lift, failures. Improvement begins one careful line at a time. In 1901, they return with a larger glider, convinced they've solved earlier flaws. But the wind reveals new problems: inadequate lift, unstable control, unpredictable stalls. Their frustration grows. One evening, Wilbur sits inside the shed, lantern light trembling across his face. "Not in 1,000 years," he murmurs, doubting whether humans will ever fly. Orville listens quietly, then begins revisiting their measurements. Together they decide to challenge existing data rather than abandon the dream. Failure doesn't end their work, it refines it. Doubt becomes a turning point rather than a conclusion. The dunes outside remain steady, unchanged. Back in Dayton, winter settles over the bicycle shop. Snow gathers along the windowsills, softening the sound of passing carriages. Inside, the brothers begin constructing a small wind tunnel made of simple wood and sheet metal. A fan at one end pushes air across dozens of miniature wings. Their notebooks fill with tables of numbers, lift coefficients, drag ratios, curvature tests. Late at night, Orville adjusts the fan speed while Wilbur studies the shifting forces on a paper-thin airfoil. The room hums with steady motion. Here, in this quiet workshop, they uncover the mathematics of flight themselves. The wind tunnel reveals something surprising. Many accepted theories about wing shapes are wrong. The Wrights refine their designs, developing a more efficient curvature and better understanding of how air moves across surfaces. They carve new wooden models with precise, smooth lines. A small scale hangs from a beam, measuring subtle lifting forces. As the data improves, so does their confidence. They begin sketching a third, more advanced glider for their next trip to Kitty Hawk. Outside, snow continues to fall, settling in soft drifts. Inside, the air buzzes with renewed purpose, warm despite winter's grip. In 1902, they returned to the dunes with their most refined glider yet. The wind greets them immediately, brushing against canvas as they assemble the frame. When Wilbur climbs in and signals Orville to release, the glider rises with unexpected grace. It banks smoothly, responds to wing warping with precision, and lands gently along a slope. Flight after flight repeats this new reliability. Local residents watch with growing amazement. A postmaster's son describes the glider as a great white bird. On one long glide, Wilbur travels hundreds of feet, descending in a steady, controlled arc, a quiet promise of future success. Yet control is still incomplete. Steering in pitch, raising and lowering the nose, remains difficult. After several flights end abruptly in the sand, the brothers gather inside the shed to think. Lantern light flickers across their tools. Orville kneels beside a drawing, adjusting the position of a small forward surface known as the elevator. Wilbur traces the motion with his fingers. They realize the elevator must respond more gradually. When they make the adjustment, the next test proves smoother. Small refinements begin stacking into something steady, reliable, and elegant. A machine responding to human intention, not resisting it. By autumn, the dunes echo with the rhythm of flight. You watch as Orville and Wilbur take turns running alongside the glider, launching, correcting, landing, and lifting it back uphill. Their footprints crisscross the sand like delicate sketches. The wind whistles through the fabric, its pitch rising as speed increases. Each successful glide adds to their belief that powered flight is not only possible, but imminent. They celebrate milestones not with shouts, but with quiet smiles, shared notes, and careful measurements. The glider becomes an extension of their thoughts, an instrument shaped by observation and patience. As the season wanes, they perform the longest and most controlled glides yet, some lasting nearly half a minute. These moments feel unhurried, like a calm drifting through the sky. Residents gather at the foot of the dune, the wind carrying their muted cheers. A fisherman remarks that he never expected to see humans ride the air like gulls. The Wrights pack their equipment with growing certainty. The next machine will use an engine. The glider rests on the sand one last time, its canvas gently rippling. A chapter closes, but flight feels closer than ever, almost within reach. Returning to Dayton, they confront a new challenge. No existing engine is light enough or powerful enough. They contact manufacturers but receive little interest, so they turn to their own workshop. Their mechanic, Charlie Taylor, joins them, rolling up his sleeves beside a small forge. Metal shavings collect on the floor as he machines the crankcase. The air smells of oil and hot steel. Slowly, an engine takes shape. modest, simple, yet capable. When it sputters to life on a test stand, the vibration travels through the wooden bench like a heartbeat. The brothers exchange a hopeful glance. Next comes the propeller, an unsolved problem. They study how water propels boats and apply similar reasoning to air. After days of debate, Wilbur sketches a twisted shape with precise angles. Orville constructs it from laminated wood, shaving each layer until smooth. When they test the propeller in the workshop, it slices the air with clean, rhythmic strokes. Combined with their engine, it creates a synergy no one has achieved before. Winter gathers outside the windows, but inside the shop, progress feels warm and steady. They prepare for a new journey to Kitty Hawk, one that could redefine history. In December 1903, the brothers stand again on the familiar sands of Kill Devil Hills. The wind is sharp and cold, blowing straight off the Atlantic. Wrapped in thick coats, they haul lumber and canvas across the dunes to assemble their new machine, the Flyer. Its wings stretch wider than any glider they've built, supported by struts and wires that hum softly when touched by wind. The engine and propellers sit beside it, gleaming faintly. Their camp is simple: a weathered shed, a crate of tools, a pot warming on a small stove. Anticipation fills the crisp air. Assembly takes days. You watch them tighten wires, adjust wing curvature, and test the engine's balance. At night, lanterns glow from inside the shed as they review calculations. The sand outside cools quickly after sunset, holding the imprint of footprints until morning wind reshapes them. On one test run, Orville starts the engine while Wilbur steadies the machine. The propellers blur, sending a strong gust of air across the sand. They shut it down quickly, the engine coughing into silence. The Flyer trembles slightly, as if eager. Control systems need refinement, but everything feels close. A few final adjustments remain: tightening bolts, reinforcing wing supports, and perfecting the rail used for takeoff. The Flyer is too heavy to run into the wind by hand, so they build a wooden track lying straight along the sand. The process is slow and methodical. A messenger from the nearby life-saving station visits, offering help if needed. The brothers thank him, their voices nearly drowned by the restless wind. When Wilbur attempts the first trial flight, the Flyer lifts momentarily before dipping into the sand. Undaunted, he dusts off his coat and begins analyzing what went wrong. December 17th arrives clear and bright. The cold morning air carries a steady wind, strong enough for flight. You stand with the brothers near the track, breath forming thin clouds. Their coats flap softly. The canvas wings rustle like distant sails. Orville prepares first, lying on his stomach at the controls. Wilbur positions the Flyer carefully, checking the alignment of skids on the rail. A few observers from the life-saving station gather nearby, their boots crunching on frozen sand. The moment feels quiet, suspended, the kind of stillness before history changes. At 10:35 a.m., the engine starts, shaking the Flyer with rhythmic vibration. The propellers whirl, their motion blurring into pale arcs. Orville releases the restraining wire. The Flyer glides along the track, rising tentatively into the air. For 12 seconds it moves through the sky, a short, trembling flight, only a few feet above the ground, but undeniably real. When it lands, The sand cushions its skids with a gentle hiss. Orville climbs out, brushing grit from his sleeve. The brothers exchange smiles, small and stunned. The world has just changed, though few yet know it. 3 more flights follow that morning, each longer than the last. Wilbur's final attempt carries him nearly 1,000 feet before a gust tips the machine downward. The flyer tumbles, but causes no serious injury. They examine the damage calmly, making notes despite the cold numbing their fingers. Their triumph is not loud or triumphant. It is steady, thoughtful, grounded in evidence. The observers help right the machine, marveling at what they've witnessed. Above, gulls circle, their wings steady in the same winds that now carry human craft. The boundary between ground and sky has shifted forever. They send a telegram home. Success. 4 flights Thursday morning. Longest 59 seconds. Simple phrases for an extraordinary day. In the shed, they pack their tools and protect the damaged flyer from winter storms. The sun lowers across the dunes, casting long shadows over the track. You walk with them back toward camp, the wind brushing sand over their footprints. Evening settles quietly. The world beyond Kitty Hawk has not yet absorbed the news. But here, in this remote corner of shifting dunes, humanity has entered a new realm. The dream of flight has left the ground. As they prepare to leave, the brothers take one last walk along the dunes. The sand glows in the late afternoon light, and the wind moves across it with the same patience it offered all year. Their shed stands in silhouette, humble and weather-beaten. Wilbur runs his hand along the flyer's frame before securing the last crate. Orville pauses, listening to the wind that once lifted their glider and now carries the memory of their first powered flight. Without ceremony, they begin the journey home. 2 bicycle makers who quietly rewrote what humans could do. The years after Kitty Hawk feel like a slow unfolding. Back in Dayton, the brothers refine their design inside a workshop filled with the steady click of tools and the scent of machine oil. They build a sturdier flyer with improved controls, convinced that true mastery requires sustained, repeatable flights. Outside, snow begins to thaw, leaving damp patches on the wooden porch. Inside, Orville sands a new propeller blade, while Wilbur adjusts a blueprint weighted by a flat stone. Their ambition is no longer a distant dream. It is a quiet certainty growing stronger each day. They return to Huffman Prairie, a flat field outside Dayton, to conduct more advanced tests. The prairie stretches wide under a warm Ohio sky, grasses waving in slow patterns. The flyer circles the field in longer arcs, occasionally dipping when wind shifts unpredictably. Using a catapult launch system, they achieve consistent takeoffs. Local farmers pause in their work to watch, leaning against fence posts with astonished expressions. A young boy drops his bucket of feed, eyes wide as the machine hums overhead. Each flight brings incremental improvements, smoother turns, longer durations, controlled landings. Flight is beginning to feel routine, but routine invites scrutiny. Reports of their success spread, yet many in the scientific community remain skeptical. Without photographs or public demonstrations, some dismiss the brothers' claims as exaggeration. You see Wilbur sitting at his workbench one evening, reading a journal article questioning their achievements. His expression does not harden with anger, only patience. Orville suggests arranging controlled demonstrations, but their primary focus remains perfecting the craft. Outside, dusk settles over the prairie, the horizon softening into purple tones. They know time and evidence will speak eventually, louder than skepticism ever could. In 1907, the U.S. Army expresses interest. A formal request for proposals arrives, detailing performance expectations, sustained flight, controlled turns, reliable landings. The Wrights study the document by lamplight, running their fingers over typed lines. This is recognition, albeit cautious. With support from investors, they refine their machine further, strengthening struts and improving steering controls. Saws rasp through wood. Metal files scrape gently. The workshop hums with methodical energy. A sense of purpose settles over everything. The brothers are no longer pursuing a private curiosity. They are answering a national call for the future of transportation. Meanwhile, Europe becomes increasingly fascinated by the possibility of powered flight. In France, aviators experiment with their own designs over wide fields bordered by poplar trees. Crowds gather on weekends to witness attempts, some brief hops, others more promising. Newspapers publish sketches of early machines, comparing their shapes and theories. Yet control remains a consistent problem. Without the Wrights' wing-warping innovation, many struggle to turn smoothly or maintain stability. You stand near a French hangar as a pilot tests a new glider. It lifts, wavers, and settles abruptly. Respect grows for the mysterious Americans reportedly achieving sustained flight. In 1908, Wilbur travels to France to demonstrate their machine publicly. At Le Mans, he rolls the flyer from its shed before a skeptical crowd of journalists, engineers, and enthusiasts. The afternoon sun warms the field, illuminating the pale canvas wings. When he takes off, the audience gasps, not at mere lift, but at grace. Wilbur banks in wide arcs, turns precisely, and lands softly. Applause follows in waves, astonished and sincere. Newspapers quickly proclaim him the master of the air. In a single day, doubt dissolves. The world finally sees what the brothers accomplished quietly years before. Orville conducts similar demonstrations at Fort Myer in Virginia. Onlookers gather behind fences, while soldiers stand in neat lines. The air smells faintly of cut grass and oiled machinery. When Orville launches, the flyer moves with confidence, circling at increasing altitudes. Spectators shield their eyes from the sun, tracking the steady motion. A gust pushes the machine sideways, but Orville corrects smoothly, earning murmurs of admiration. His flights last minutes, not seconds. Each loop reinforces the idea that controlled, practical flight is no longer a fantasy. Reporters scribble notes rapidly, their pages fluttering in the breeze. Yet progress carries risk. During one demonstration, a mechanical failure sends Orville's flyer diving toward the ground. The impact is sudden, but not violent in tone. More a heavy fall, like a tree settling after being cut. Dust rises in a slow cloud. You see people rush toward the wreckage, their footsteps muffled by grass. Orville survives with serious injuries. His passenger, Lieutenant Thomas Selfridge, becomes the first aviation fatality. The moment weighs heavily on the brothers. Still, Orville's recovery is steady, marked by long afternoons of quiet reflection. They resolve to improve safety without losing sight of their vision. Following the demonstrations, aviation fever spreads across continents. Inventors, engineers, and enthusiasts flock to fields, sheds, and workshops, each assembling machines inspired by the Wright's success. You walk through one such workshop in France, where a team sands wooden struts and applies varnish to stretched fabric. The air carries the sweet scent of pine. Photographs of Wilbur's flights hang on a wall, pinned beside sketches of alternative wing shapes. Outside, children run along a meadow imitating the sound of engines, their arms outstretched like wings. A new era has begun, built on equal parts curiosity and ambition. Cities across Europe and America host flying exhibitions. Crowds gather in open fields, shading their eyes against bright skies. Vendors sell warm chestnuts. Photographers set up bulky tripod cameras. When planes lift off, people cheer, marveling at the smooth arcs of controlled motion. You stand near a wooden fence as an early aviator glides overhead, sunlight catching on the fabric wings. The pilot dips one wing in greeting, earning applause. Newspapers publish enthusiastic reports, sketching flight paths and explaining the science behind lift. The sky becomes a place of performance, calm, daring, and filled with possibility. The Wrights, though admired, remain grounded in their meticulous craft. Back in Dayton, they build new machines, faster, stronger, more reliable. Their workshop is now tidier, with labeled shelves and well-worn tools arranged carefully. Wilbur writes letters detailing their progress. Orville reads correspondence from governments seeking aviation guidance. Visitors arrive from around the world, stepping softly across the wooden floorboards. Despite increased attention, the brothers maintain the same quiet discipline that shaped their earliest experiments. They refine wing geometry, engine performance, and control systems, never rushing, always studying. The pursuit feels vast, but their approach remains patient and steady. In 1909, the brothers formed the Wright Company to manufacture their aircraft. The factory smells of freshly milled wood and warm metal. Workers shape ribs, assemble frames, and stretch fabric across wings with practiced hands. You watch as a young apprentice smooths a wrinkle from canvas using gentle, repeated motions. Outside, a prototype plane waits on a launching rail. The company's creation signals aviation's shift from experimental curiosity to tangible industry. Flight is no longer a solitary pursuit by two inventors. It becomes a collaboration, inviting others into the sky. The world is beginning to reorganize around this new dimension. That same year, the brothers demonstrate their aircraft in New York. The Statue of Liberty stands tall against a hazy horizon as Wilbur circles the harbor, the flyer's shadow crossing waves below. Ferry passengers stop to watch, pointing and smiling. The machine moves with confidence, weaving patterns between sky and sea. Reporters describe the flight as a quiet triumph. You observe from Battery Park as the flyer hums past, its engine blending with distant ship horns. The symbolism is unmistakable. The promise of freedom carried not just across water, but upward into the air. Despite their growing fame, the brothers remain private. Wilbur spends evenings reading beside a small lamp, his glasses catching its warm glow. Orville reviews notes from the day's experiments, pencil tapping lightly against the table. They speak often about the future of flight, how high machines might climb, how far they might travel, how they could aid exploration or even connect nations. But they never indulge in extravagance. Their satisfaction comes from precision, understanding, and quiet progress. The world may celebrate them loudly, but they move through life with the same thoughtful calm as before. In 1912, Wilbur contracts typhoid fever. His decline is gradual, marked by long periods of rest and fading strength. You sit quietly in a dim room where sunlight filters through thin curtains. Orville reads aloud beside him, voice soft, steady. The illness takes Wilbur at the age of 45. His passing feels like the end of an era, not because flight stops, but because one of its gentlest architects has stepped away. Orville continues their work, carrying his brother's vision with him. The world mourns in muted tones, recognizing how much was built from their partnership. Years pass, and aviation grows rapidly. Planes become faster, safer, more complex. You stand on a runway in the late 1920s, watching a sleek monoplane accelerate, lifting into the sky with remarkable ease. Its metal skin gleams in the sun. The pilot banks gracefully, a motion that traces its lineage directly to the Wrights' early experiments. Though Orville no longer builds planes himself, he remains an advisor and respected elder, a quiet witness to the unfolding world, shaped by the dream he and Wilbur pursued. The sky is no longer an untouched frontier. It is a pathway. By the time commercial aviation develops, cities glow with electric light. Airports expand near urban centers, their runways stretching like illuminated paths into the night. You walk through a terminal where travelers wait beside large windows, watching planes taxi slowly across the tarmac. The engines hum steadily, a sound both powerful and controlled. Passengers clutch tickets, adjust coats, and read newspapers. Flight has become ordinary, woven into daily life. Yet every departure carries faint echoes of the sand dunes at Kitty Hawk, whispers of fragile canvas wings that once lifted cautiously into cold winter air. Airmail becomes one of aviation's early triumphs. Pilots navigate long routes over mountains, deserts, and rivers, often guided only by faint beacons or starlight. You stand outside a remote airfield at dawn as a pilot checks his biplane, running his hand along the leading edge of the wing. Frost sparkles faintly on the fabric. The engine sputters awake, sending puffs of warm vapor into the cold air. Letters placed carefully in the aircraft's small compartment represent distant connections, families, businesses, hopes. Each successful delivery reinforces trust in the new medium of flight. As technology improves, aircraft become essential tools in exploration. Expeditions to remote regions use planes to survey landscapes previously reached only by arduous travel. You drift above a snow-covered mountain range in an early reconnaissance aircraft, the wings trembling in thin air. Below, glaciers curve in immense, quiet arcs. The pilot adjusts controls with smooth, practiced movements. The view from above changes human understanding of Earth's shape, scale, and beauty. Maps become more accurate. Barriers shrink. Knowledge expands gently, carried on steady wings. During the 1930s, impressive feats capture the public imagination. Pilots attempt record-breaking flights across oceans and continents. Newspapers display photographs of streamlined aircraft, beside headlines celebrating distance and speed. You watch from a crowded field as a long-range plane begins its takeoff roll, wheels bouncing slightly before lifting. The crowd holds its breath, then cheers as the aircraft ascends. Children wave hats, their faces bright with excitement. These moments blend engineering, courage, and global curiosity. Each successful flight reaffirms that the sky can be crossed with calm determination and careful design. Despite advances, aviation also experiences loss. Accidents occur due to weather, mechanical failure, or limited knowledge. You find yourself standing beside a hangar on a stormy evening as a grounded pilot reviews charts, tracing possible routes around dangerous clouds. Raindrops tap against the metal roof, steady and soft. Safety protocols improve gradually. Better instruments, radios, training, and airfield design. Lessons learned from tragedies shape safer skies, just as earlier setbacks guided the right's progress. The industry grows through a combination of innovation, resilience, and shared responsibility. By the mid-20th century, passenger aircraft evolve into larger, more comfortable machines. You walk through a cabin where rows of upholstered seats line the aisle, illuminated by gentle overhead lights. Attendants prepare for boarding, smoothing linen cloths and checking small details. Outside the window, technicians inspect engines with handheld lamps. The hum of modern aviation feels far removed from the sandy dunes of Kitty Hawk, yet it remains rooted in the same principles of lift, thrust, drag, and control. Every journey, no matter how routine, is a quiet tribute to the brothers who first solved the puzzle of flight. In 1948, Orville Wright passes away at the age of 76. You imagine his final years, evenings spent reading beside a warm lamp, occasional visits to airfields, and quiet moments watching planes glide overhead. He witnessed the transition from canvas and wood to metal and powerful engines, from solitary flights to bustling airports. His life bridged a transformation unmatched in human history. When he leaves the world, aircraft already fly higher, faster, and farther than he or Wilbur once dreamed. Yet their early footsteps remain etched in the sand, shaping everything that followed. Today, the legacy of the Wright brothers lives in museums, libraries, and preserved sites. At Kill Devil Hills, visitors walk along marked paths, showing the distances of those first 4 flights. The wind still moves across the dunes with the same steady calm. The reconstructed shed stands modestly, its wooden boards weathered by time. You watch as a child runs along the track, arms outstretched like wings, imagining lift beneath them. The moment feels familiar, history echoing into the present. The world flies because 2 brothers once believed the sky could be understood. Let your thoughts drift back across everything you've seen tonight. The quiet workshop in Dayton, filled with wood shavings and sketches. The long dunes at Kitty Hawk, shaped by steady winds. The trembling moment when the flyer first lifted from the rail. The calm loops over Huffman Prairie. Crowds gathered in fields across continents, watching machines trace soft arcs across the sky. These scenes unfold like turning pages, each one leading gently to the next. From fragile canvas to metal wings, flight became part of human life, a reminder that determination can rise slowly, patiently, into something extraordinary. Return now to your own room. to the familiar walls and steady quiet around you. The air is calm, carrying no wind strong enough to lift wings from the ground. The world outside settles into night, its noises faint and reassuring. Let the story of those first flights fade like footprints in the sand, softening with distance. You are safe here, grounded yet at ease, your thoughts drifting as lightly as the flyer once did above the dunes. Allow the calm to settle through you, steady and gentle. The sky can wait. For now, rest comes first.